Welcome back, everybody, to the final video of 2024. I beat 50 games this year, and in order to talk about them all, I'm going to have to run through them very quickly, 30 to 60 seconds per game. However, at the end of the video, I'm going to go through my awards section, give you some fun, unique stats about the games, and my Game of the Year nominations. I will spend more time talking about those. Also, if I mention that I talked about a game and I already made a video on it, you can check the description and I will have that video linked. So without further ado, let's start cracking on these with game number 1, beaten on January 1st, Warioware, Get It Together. Yes, this is a really fun game, one that I did make a video on. Basically, you have a series of high action, reflex oriented mini games. However, it doubles as a fantastic co-op game and it has an amazing campaign as well. So I will link that and you can check it out there. Game number 2, beaten on January 6th, Degrees of Separation. This was a Switch game that I just picked up, I don't know, maybe it was $1 on sale or something. I don't even remember when I made the purchase. It's a co-op puzzle game that you can play on your own, but I highly recommend you play it with somebody else. It should only take you 3 to 4 hours. And that was with me getting most of the achievements, or I should say completing most of the puzzles. Really fun, a lot of brain teasers in there, and every section of the game has a different and unique puzzle mechanic, whether it's gravity oriented or freezing water and then unfreezing it. You can check it all out in the gameplay. Game number 3, Frostpunk, beaten on January 7th. Now, this is a strategy game, or it's a strategy meets simulation game that I included in my winter games. It's a little bit more challenging, I should say. However, once you familiarize yourself with the structures and how to get an optimized layout, it's a lot of fun. Graphically, the game looks amazing, and there's some really interesting story elements as well to get you bought into the world. Game number 4, beaten on January 14th, Fall Guys. Now, what is Fall Guys doing in here? What do I mean by beating it? I just picked it up, and in about an hour or so, I ended up winning the game. It's a battle royale game where you go through all these little mini game platformers, and I came in first place. So I said, yeah, I beat that game this year. Game number 5, Goats on a Bridge, also beaten on January 14th. And this is a game that you can, again, play co-op. I highly recommend you do it that way. What you have is couple of goats on their own separate screens, separated vertically, and they each have to traverse a different route to get to the end of the level. There's a little bit of platforming, there's a little bit of action with your timing and your reflexes, and if you have 2 people playing, you both have to successfully get to the end of the level. It was also kind of fun looking for hidden secrets in this game. Always appreciate something like that. Game number 6, Naboki, beaten on January 16th. This, from what I remember, is just a puzzle game where you have a cube in a floating 3-dimensional space. Obviously, it's a cube. And you just have to draw lines to connect circuits. Sometimes you remove pieces and... Oh, right. That's what it is. You have to remove the pieces of this cube in a particular order. And so sometimes they're locked with electricity and you have to unlock them. Yeah, pretty fun game. Not too bad. Yeah, but also dragged on a little too long. Game number 7, The Answer is 42. I beat this on January 16th as well. Wow, a lot of puzzle games getting done. Yeah, so in this one, you drag your mouse to connect a series of numbers and equations. I think there's equations. And you try to get the sum or the total or the product to equal 42. Wow. Game number 8, beaten on January 20th, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Uh-oh. So, my fond childhood memories did not hold up. As soon as I started playing this game for real and trying to beat it, I hated it. No, hate's a strong word, but I really didn't like Zelda 2. I don't think I need to talk too much about it because everyone understands that it's either the black sheep of the family or a hidden gem. To me, it's a black sheep. Game number 9, and this is where people will start to get insulting, I'm sure, beaten on January 27th, Wordle. You know what? I'm a sucker for word-based puzzle games, and so yeah, I bought Wordle and Wordle 2 and Wordle 3, and I beat them all, and they're all going to be featured here. That same night, I beat Wordle 2. I don't know what else I can say. I like these games. Yeah, when I played on my Steam Deck, I had some issues and didn't really feel too good. Felt a lot better with a mouse and keyboard. Also, the game didn't sync between my computer and my Steam Deck, so stick to PC and play it there. Wordle 2, I said, was beat on the same day. And then next, game number 11, Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time, beaten on January 28th. A really fun game. I've never heard anybody talk about this. Highly recommend you play this with, I think you can have up to 4 players. Play it with 2, 3, or 4 people. If you want to play it on your own, go ahead. What it is you are in this spaceship in a 2-dimensional game, 3-dimensional, what am I saying here? There's going to be no cuts. So, Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time, you're aboard this spaceship, and as you go throughout the level and you're trying to rescue, I think, these little rabbit creatures, you end up getting power-ups, and you can place them in the different parts of your ship. You can enhance your gun, your turret area, and upgrade that first. Or you can upgrade your thruster so you can move around a little faster. Why not upgrade your barrier? I will talk about this game at some point when I do an episode on co-op games. For now, I'm sorry you have to deal with that sort of hasty review, but it's a good game. Game number 12, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, beaten on January 30th. What do I mean by beating it? I got first place in every base game championship. So what, there's 8 of them in the base game. Each of the 8 tournaments has 4 maps, and so I came first place in all 4 maps 8 times. Oh, on 200cc. That's what I should say. Yeah, so took a little while, year 2024, but I finally got around to playing the game more seriously, and there you go. It was okay. I'm not a big fan of Mario Kart 8. Game number 13, Wordle 3, beaten on February 3rd. That was a lot of January games, eh? So now we're in February, and here's the third Wordle. And you know what? This game has more categories for your words. So rather than just being simple, like, simple animals, or simple this, or simple that, there's pop culture topics, there's geography, the words get a lot longer. Wordle 3, I can't remember exactly how it improved on the formula, but it was the best of the 3. So if you're someone like me, or you need a little puzzle game while you're traveling, get Wordle 3. However, they're probably all bundled together on Fanatical. Game number 14, The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, beaten on February 5th. What can I say? I wasn't a big fan of it. And if you want to hear more of what I have to say about the Zelda games, I did my ranking the mainline Zelda games this year. Of course, that's going to be linked in the description. It's not a bad game, and I can attribute a lot of what I love in the series to being started out in this title. I can't speak, I can't think right now, I'm sorry. But aside from that, the gameplay was really cryptic, and I just wasn't a huge fan of it. Game number 15, Mario Party Superstars, beaten on February 6th. So similar to when I beat Mario Kart 8, I beat this game by playing all of the game boards and coming first place. Oh, and I also tried each mini-game one time. I think I came first in every mini-game. Otherwise, yeah, I must have come first in every mini-game at least once. So, I don't know, I gave the game a run-through, single player, and it was fine. I've tried playing it with friends, and I'm just not a big fan of this one. Maybe Jamboree's a lot better, who knows. Game number 16, Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion, beaten on February 7th. How many of you have seen this game running for what? $20 on Nintendo Switch? Something ludicrous. This is about a 3-hour game. It is not worth playing. It was my dishonorable mention in my spring games of this year. Yes, you get a little bit more replay value out of it with some endless mode at the end of the game. It's a really bad and boring Zelda clone. Just doesn't do anything particularly well. Game number 17, The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening, beaten on February 11th. This is the Switch version. I had to remind myself. Right. So I beat the Switch version this year. I liked it so much that I also did a standalone review for it. I remember playing the DX version and not being a huge fan of it. It was fine. It didn't particularly grab me, and I actually had to use a walkthrough and a guide to get myself out of the end of the game because I wasn't really enjoying wandering around and exploring. This game really enhances the exploration. Game number 18, Box Boy, beaten on February 20th. And I actually included this game in my 5 puzzle games for beginners. It's a nice combination of puzzling and platforming. And so if you're looking for a little more action, or if you're coming from the action genre and you want to try a puzzle game, Box Boy is a great recommendation. It drags on a little bit in the beginning for, I don't know, let's just say the first couple of hours, but once you unlock new mechanics, it really picks up. Game number 19, Golf with Your Friends, beaten on February 25th. Ooh, don't want to get the months wrong. Someone's going to kill me. Golf with Your Friends was a really silly golf game. I heard of my friends playing this one for a long time. Ironically enough, I missed the window when they were playing it, and so I golfed on my own. And the maps were okay. What I didn't really care for was that it didn't embrace a lot of that classic mini-putt goodness, where there's all kinds of crazy ramps and contraptions that you can send your ball into. There was a fair amount of those, but really a lot of the obstacles that I can remember were things like windmills getting in your way, characters walking around a river to not shoot your ball in. I love when your ball is transported all over the place. That's really fun. Now, what constitutes beating this? Probably getting first place versus the computers in every map. Game number 20, Okami HD. I beat this on February 29th, just in time for my Spring Games video. And I have a few things to say about it. Right now, a lot of people are looking up Okami because Okami 2 is just released. So my bite-sized review has been doing pretty well. But it is covered in my Spring Games recommendations. I do recommend it. However, it's a very slow and drawn-out game. What I wanted more was puzzly adventure, using your abilities in unique ways, and there wasn't quite enough of that. Game number 21, Garden Story, beaten in March 5th. We're moving on. This game was a really pleasant surprise. So another one, like Lovers in a Space Time, that I'd never heard about, and when I started playing it, I couldn't stop it. Actually, let me correct myself. It had a really slow tutorial, but again, once you start progressing, you knock a few of the quests out of the way, you start to really enjoy it. If you want to hear more about this game, it's in my Spring Games video. It's a combination of simulation, Animal Crossing style, like town management, and adventure and action. Game number 22, The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, beaten on March 15th. The Oracle games were a really pleasant surprise. I also beat Ages 9 days later on the 24th. And you know what? I don't have too many negative things to say about them. Considering their age, I thought the puzzles were pretty good. The exploration and the overworld was probably the weakest aspect overall. But that's only because you run into a lot of really simple obstacles compared to what people can do in the technology today. The equipment was great. And again, if you want to hear more about that, my Ranking the Zelda Games video. Game number 24, Quell Refresh. Whoa! When I start speaking with that kind of an accent, I need a little sip here. Excuse me, everybody. No cuts. We're going right through. Game number 24, Quell Reflect, beaten on April 4th. So this was a little puzzle game on the Nintendo 3DS. As far as I'm aware, it's available on possibly the Switch, but for sure on PC. And it's fun. If you like those sliding block puzzles, the ice block puzzles, think of Zelda, think of Pokemon Gold and Silver, where once you start moving, your character doesn't stop until you hit a wall. That is what you have in this game. Game number 25, The Legend of Zelda, Spirit Tracks, beaten on April 11th. I did not enjoy this game. Oh, it's not entirely true. I liked Zelda as a companion. Zelda in this game is one of the best companions in the whole Zelda series, and using her around the different stages and the dungeons and controlling her in a puzzle manner, that is fun. The action on the 3DS, or even if you're using your mouse and emulating it, not that enjoyable, and the game is just too long. Sorry. Oh, and the overworld exploration is terrible. Game number 26, The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds, beaten on April 28th. Now this is a good game. Alright, finally, I'm enjoying a handheld Zelda. I can't remember the last one that I really liked. This is almost perfect. Because it models itself after A Link to the Past, it's not the most exciting Hyrule. You've seen it before. However, the low-rule traversal is a very unique twist on the game, and that's a lot of fun. And the puzzles were great. Unfortunately, not too much about the game is that memorable right now, but I did like collecting things in the game. Number 27, Fire Emblem, The Sacred Stones, beaten on June 23rd. Whoa, so there's no May in here. It is what it is. This game was awesome. The first Fire Emblem on GBA, it was good, not great. I think I gave it about a 7 out of 10 because I just like the gameplay and there's a whole variety of units. This one has so many quality of life improvements, including being able to train up on certain stages, which is why my playtime was massive. The fact that you can access a lot of shops on the overworld map. Wow, great quality of life change. So Sacred Stones, solid story, great combat, great maps, great characters. Oh yeah, high recommendation. Game number 28, Mario vs. Donkey Kong, not the remake, the original on GBA. I beat this on July 13th. And it was a bit of a slog. I didn't enjoy playing it. It was a little too slow. Not my kind of puzzle game, even though I love puzzle games, clearly. If you're going to do puzzle platforming, I would rather it be a little faster pace. Not a lot of waiting for hazards to pass and waiting for obstacles to get in place. And just, too slow. Game number 29, Days Gone, beaten on July 19. I'm not sure why I'm talking like this right now. Days Gone was a really good game, and I'll talk about it more at the end. Spoiler, it's my Game of the Year nominee. Game number 30, Chameleon Twist, beaten on July 29th. I'm losing it. So this is a Nintendo 64 platformer that I've been wanting to go back to for a long time because I don't remember beating it as a kid. I had it, but I think it was too difficult. Relatively short game. Not the most intricate title. The stages, actually, the design and the environments, that leaves the most to be desired. Everything is so simple and squared off and blocky, and there's no detail in a lot of the assets. But the ideas are cool. And being able to do a handstand on your tongue and being able to wrap around poles and swing your chameleon, those platform elements are a lot of fun. The game just needs a lot of work. Game number 31, beaten on August 9th, Monster Sanctuary. Boy, people hated my bite-size review. I got criticized to no end because, what are you saying? You played the game for an hour? No, I played the game for a few hours by that point, and then I talked about it. And the game just didn't grip me. I did a full-length review. Probably talked too long about it because I wanted to prove the haters that I did play it and that I kind of knew what I was talking about. And it was fine. I actually enjoyed the collectathon at the end of the game and trying to get all the achievements more so than any of the battling and a lot of the individual mechanics. So that's a little bit of my, my achievement addicted brainworm just kind of controlling me there. Let's move on. Game number 32, Golf vs. Zombies, beaten on August 10th. Ugh. Yeah, I'm buying time while I try to remember the game. No, what I remember is that I could not recommend this game. It was my dishonorable mention on my 5 games for autumn. Yeah, it has the orange color scheme, but it's so... I hate stopping and starting gameplay. So you take your shot as if you're golfing, and your golf ball lands, and then a whole horde of zombies pops out, and you have to do this crummy action sequence where you're hitting the ball at their heads and trying to kill them. If the zombies get you, it's game over, you restart that course. Too slow. Game number 33, Momodora, Reverie Under the Moonlight. Oh, yeah, this was a good game. I don't know why I did that. If any of you grew up in Toronto or Ontario, Oliver Jeweler, oh yeah! I beat this on August 30th, and it was really good. And again, I talk about it in my Autumn Games recommendations. It's a Metroidvania, really great art, really nice pixel graphics. Don't remember the music, though. Game number 34, Minami Lane, beaten on August 31st. This... where do I begin? You know what? I was going to talk about the game. I'm going to use my little bite-size time limit here to talk about how I can't stand this cozy games infestation on YouTube. Everyone's into cozy games, and everything that I've played, or at least most of them, have sucked. Now, granted, it hasn't been too many, but a game like this, for example, so it's a town simulator or a street simulator, and you populate it with vendors and libraries and things of that nature, and you monitor your citizens' happiness, but there's just not that many intricate mechanics involved, and so you have a really flat game overall, and it just felt like you were going through the motions until you beat it. Game number 35, Colat, beaten on September 29th. A horror, winter, wilderness, adventure, can't really call it survival, but in some ways it is, game. For some reason, it's narrated by Sean Bean, and that's the best thing I can say about it. No, you know what? If you don't care about beating games, and for some reason you want to just immerse yourself trapped in a snowstorm, then you could play Colat. The horror aspects are fine. You'll get a couple of jump scares out of it. But the game is, again, slow. Wow, you know what I'm realizing? I really don't like slow games. Let's go a little faster. Game number 36, Puzzle & Dragons Z. One of the 2 games in the Puzzle & Dragons Z Super Mario Bros. Edition, the little bundle that was sold on 3DS. This is not as good as its Super Mario Bros. Edition counterpart. However, I did have a good time with it. Or at the very least, because I'd already started playing it, I didn't let myself stop until I beat it. I think it's like 35 to 40 hours. I don't know, because the time isn't split between the 2 games. It's shared and tracked. But yeah, if you like match 3 puzzle games and dragging your stylus through, Puzzle & Dragons Z, there you go. But play the Super Mario Bros. Edition. Game number 37, Bad North, Jotun or Jotun Edition, beaten on October 6. This was included in my 5 strategy games for beginners. It's a very simplified tower defense style game. In addition to having... Do you have towers? Why did I call it that? Well, it kind of plays like a tower defense game. You move your little minions around on this small island. You have archers, you have swordsmen, you have pikemen. Every now and then you can get some upgrades to level them up a little bit. That is relatively bare bones. A lot of the fun is just the fact that it's a fairly quick game, or at least it feels quick. And if you want to get a taste for some tower defense style game, there you go. Game number 38, Baba Is You. Oh boy. Hardest puzzle game I've ever played. This was released on... Released? I don't know what we're doing here. This was beaten on October 11th. Yeah, I'm not ashamed to admit that I needed a guide. And since I was using a guide to beat, like 40% of the puzzles, most of them... Well, I can't even say most of them were at the end of the game. In World 2 or 3, it started to get fairly challenging for me. And I just kept on using the guide because I felt like beating it 100%. So there you go. Baba Is You, a really hard game. I have recommended it on the TurboZone channel as a cheap game for Steam Deck. I think it's about $20, and if you get it on sale and you want to have fun logic teasers, brain teasers, go ahead. Game number 39, Mini Words. So this is in the same vein as the Wordle games, except in some ways this is more fun. Picture, if you will, a crossword board, and you're dragging your mouse through to try to find these words that exist within it. Now later on, it's a little more challenging. The board gets bigger, the words get a little bit longer, or you get a ton of short words, and you're not allowed to overlap or crisscross diagonally, I think. So yeah, it's another word-based puzzle game. Smacked a 5 out of 10 on this thing, and I enjoyed it for what it is. Played 10 hours, all the main levels, and then I stopped before the bonus levels. Game number 40, Luigi's Mansion 3, beaten on November 9th. This was a good game. I don't know if I like it more than Luigi's Mansion 1, but I can't argue with the quality of life enhancements. The only thing I would argue is, yes, they give you the plunger. Yes, they give you Gooigi. Those are really fun mechanics. But is it more fun than having your vacuum upgrades from the first game? Could they have not found ways to include those? It felt like, yes, it was really good that they did something different, and there is a reason to go back to Luigi's Mansion 1. It's just hard to say, is this my favorite in the series? Game number 41, Faerun. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. Beaten on November 14th. This was a little game that I played on Nintendo 3DS. I thought it would be good. I thought it would be a short JRPG. Instead, you have one of the worst Zelda clones imaginable. I think the Ys games, the early Ys games, you bump into enemies to damage them. So I've heard that's what this is like. And, I'll just talk about this game later. I give up. Game number 42, Batman Arkham Origins, beaten on November 15th. Fun action game. Caught me completely by surprise because people are saying that Origins is not good. Play Arkham Knight, play this, but Origins, whatever. I enjoyed it. It's my first time playing an Arkham game, and now I have the motivation and the inspiration to play the other Arkham titles. I talked about this in my games for Winter. So you want to check out the video I did earlier this month, knock yourself out. Game number 43, Roki, beaten on November 22nd. Also in my Winter Games recommendations. What's going on here? Yeah. I leave a lot of things to the last minute. This is a puzzle adventure game taking place in a Scandinavian-inspired mythological world. I think I got that correctly. Beautiful winter environments, some decent puzzle solving. Not the strongest game all the way through, but the middle portions are a lot of fun. Game number 44, Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts, beaten on November 27th. I like these Sniper Ghost Warrior games. Or, I shouldn't say that. I haven't played a lot of them. I played Sniper Elite V2, Sniper Elite 3, and now Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts. And this, if you just enjoy picking up your sniper rifle and blasting people through the head at long range, go nuts with this one. Me, I'm someone who always gravitates towards the sniper rifle in FPS games, so I had a great time with this. Game number 45, Code of Princess, beaten on November 28th. This was, well, first I thought it was a JRPG, and then when I saw that it was a side-scrolling, beat-em-up 2D fighting game, I can't speak again. It's happening off and on this video. I was like, shoot, well now I've started it, so I gotta beat it. Thankfully, it was a short game, and thankfully, the more you play it, and the more you invest in your character's growth, so there are some RPG elements, the more fun it becomes. I talked about this on the Button Mappers episode, and I suppose I'll link that as well. And it was just a very surprising game where upgrading your characters made the game play faster. There's that speed comment again. We're in December now. Hallelujah. Almost done. Game number 46, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, beaten on December 20th. Oh, wow. There's a long break. We're on 46 out of 50, and this is December 20th. What have I been up to the last 10 days? So, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity was a very pleasant surprise. At first, I did not have high hopes for it because the tutorial started out laggy, and I didn't play the game for 2 or 3 years, finally picked it up again, and it has become one of my favorite games on the Switch. I will talk about this in a moment. Game number 47, Super Mario Bros., beaten on the 26th. Yeah, that's what I got up to on Boxing Day. I wanted to replay this. I did not remember how difficult the game was. As a kid, you would use the Game Genie and yada yada. I had beaten it a few years ago, I think in 2019. Boy, oh boy, just too difficult. But you know what? It's always fun to see where the games came from, where the series that I love started out. Game number 48, sticking with the NES, Marble Madness. Beat this 3 days ago. I thought this would be right up my alley. I didn't have high hopes because it's a game where you're maneuvering a marble. It's supposed to be a relatively quick game, and yet it's on the NES. How good can it be? Well, it was about a 4 out of 10 for me. I do like the idea. It wasn't executed terribly. Actually, the movement and the control, that's all good. Too many enemies, too many hazards, not enough continues. You want the game to be more fun? Stretch the game out a little bit. Let players explore a touch while still being able to get to the end goal with less enemies. So it was just too long continues, and every time you lost, you had to go back to the very start of the game, restart. Game number 49, Vampire Survivors, beaten yesterday. This game, oh man, it was so much fun. I'm going to talk about it more in a moment. What you have here, though, is a bullet hell roguelike mashup, and kind of an auto-clicker as well, where you just hold your mouse down to move your character around, and as you kill enemies and as you pick up their power-ups, you get stronger, the enemy hordes get more intense, and it just becomes chaos on the screen. But I really liked it. Really fun formula. And then finally, the last game that I beat to make it 50 on the year, Sonic the Hedgehog. Also beaten last night. This game did not hold up like I thought it would. Now, to be fair to myself and to the game, I couldn't really remember what Sonic 1, 2, or 3 were like. I played them all back in the day at my uncle's house on his Genesis. Wow, Sonic 1 is rough around the edges, to say the least. Or it's just not the kind of game that I thought it was. Anyways, those are my 50 games beaten this year. And guys and girls, If you want to know anything more about the games, and I'm not going to talk about it now, and I didn't link a video talking about it more, just ask me in the comments. Oh, how's this one? How's game X compared to game Y? Anything goes. Please feel free to ask me. Now, there is one more game here, an honorable mention. Dota 2, a strategy game that I played for... Well, I'll hold that. Yeah, I played a lot of Dota 2. Let's get into the fun stuff now. Let's get into the awards and some more unique stats. And now I can start to take my time talking about the games a little bit more. So, how many games did I beat 100%? Oh, I love doing that sort of thing. I already mentioned that I'm into the Steam achievements. I know I got a problem, but that's okay. I don't harm anybody with it. I beat 14 games 100%. Now, in the case of Super Mario Bros. And Marble Madness, you just beat the game, right? That's all that it's entailed. Technically, though, it is 100%. The most played genres. Well, if you were paying attention, you would have noticed that puzzle games kept on coming up over and over and over and over again. I beat 13 puzzle games, 11 adventure games, and 9 action games. Some of you might debate how I sort the genres. You know what I'm going to do? At the very end of the video, I'll put this chart up on the screen, and so when we say our goodbyes, you can pause the video, and you can take a look at this. Who knows? If it's too small on screen, maybe I'll even link it in the comments. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm in the description. The most played games. Now we're talking about the hours invested in the games. And number 1 was Dota 2. Now, I would like to show you this graph, this chart. I don't know if I've already put it up on screen in my editing, but if I haven't done it yet, here it is now. These are the games beaten per month. And you can see I started out really strong. A lot of those puzzle games, like the Wordles, they really helped here. 12 games beaten in January. I think that's an 8 from this distance, beaten in February. And then, boy, do I dip. And the middle of the year is just so slow. Where's my progress gone? You know what's to blame? Dota 2. I finally picked it up at the end of the year. 6 games beaten in November, 5 games beaten in December, and it could have been more, but I got so invested in Hyrule Warriors. The thing is, Dota consumed me this year, so I played it for 400 to 500 hours. Or what I should say is, I enjoyed Dota for 400 to 500 hours. I played it with my friends. We talked about Dota a lot. I tuned into some of the tournaments, so I probably played it for closer to 400. But I was just enraptured by Dota for closer to 500. After that, the most played game was Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, 78 hours logged, and then Days Gone, 56 and a half hours logged. Really enjoyed those 2 games, tried to do as much as I could in them, within reason. The Best Sound and Music Award. I'm just lumping these into an audio category because it can't be helped. And you know what? There's a little bit of recency bias here, but I'm making the winner Sonic the Hedgehog. So this is an overall award, and Sonic the Hedgehog deserves it because so many of the tracks are good. There's not too many tracks to talk about. Leo's looking at something. Okay, he's chasing a squirrel. I just got him outside over here. I've been watching him the whole time. Anyways, that's not a game. So Sonic the Hedgehog, fantastic sounds. Yes, there's a lot of nostalgia bait here for me, but can you help it? A lot of us are biased towards the games from our childhoods. Best graphics and art style, Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts. Okay, this one was a little bit harder because you've got the brilliant cartoon style of a Warioware. You've got the beautiful backgrounds in Roki. You've even got great graphics in a game like Batman Arkham Origins. But I could not help but be stunned and pleasantly surprised by how good the graphics were in Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts, and also the environments are great. So as you're progressing through the levels, you're taking in these massive vistas. The maps are huge. Sometimes they're sectioned off with structures and jungle, but these snowy maps and the glaciers and just the scale of everything, honestly, I'm not somebody who praises modern game graphics just for being high fidelity, but the combination of the environments and the great graphics, yeah, Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts, well deserved. The worst games of the year. I think my number 1 worst game of the year is Zelda 2. It's just too hard for me. Yeah, I suck at some games. You know what? Zelda 2, too hard for me. I had to beat it with save states, and I didn't even want to keep on playing it, but I just kept on trudging through it. Chugging or trudging. Then there's Faerun. I talked about how it was a terrible Zelda clone where you bump into enemies. The exploration was okay, and some of the puzzle solving was okay, until I got too cryptic. And then all of a sudden, the game throws a fastball on you, and when you get to the end of the game, it's time for the final boss fight, it goes into different game styles. You start doing like a little shoot 'em up and more action. Where was that for the rest of the game? I don't mind the change up, but the first part of the game, the 3 hours, was so dull. And then all of a sudden there's an action-oriented boss fight. And then finally the worst, or the other worst game of the year, not the absolute worst, that's Zelda 2. But the third one here is Super Mario Bros. You know what? Get mad at me if you want. I'll give you a few moments to write some angry comments. My poor throat. I appreciate this game. I played it so much as a child. Just replaying it now, it's too simple, and again, it's too hard. You can farm for 1-ups, but it's a little more difficult in this first game, especially when you compare it to Super Mario Bros. 3. Much easier to find coins, much easier to get 1-ups in that game. Also, just more secrets. Look, I'm not trying to disrespect this game. Just, disregarding the fact that, but it was made so early and yada yada. Objectively, it's not a great game, all right? I like the secrets. Oh, that's the other thing. The secrets, maybe I don't know the game that well, but the secrets basically stop around World 5. Or I should say the warp pipes. If I don't know of one, please, you could point it out. I could always look it up because this game's been covered to death. But from what I remembered, I could only take warp pipes up to level 5. And then I had to beat the rest of the game on my own. And it was, good luck. I should also mention I tried to do no hit. Anyways, I'm talking about this game too much. Let's talk about my Game of the Year nominations. So, I have 10 Game of the Year nominations, technically 11. I'm just reserving my Game of the Year off. My absolute Game of the Year, I'm just leaving it alone. So these are in no particular order, and now I can talk a little bit more about these games. Luigi's Mansion 3. I did spend some time talking about this game and how I don't know if it's better than Luigi's Mansion 1. The quality of life improvements, the sound effects. Oh, this game could have been nominated for Best Sound. The vacuum physics, the amount of hidden things and interactable objects. I love all of that. The game taking place entirely within the hotel, though. Yes, there's some variation in the environments. There's one, for example, that's a garden, and that was a really fun one to explore. There's another one that's kind of themed on carnival, circus type stuff. That was my favorite floor in this hotel. It just felt a little bit stale at times, though. It felt like they could have done a little bit more, and it also felt very formulaic. All right, Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts. Do talk about this in my winter games, and so I want to recommend you watch that video for a little bit more of an explanation. Like I said, at its core, this game is all about taking a sniper rifle, staying at a long distance, and just shooting people through the head. Pop, 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 pop. Kill 20 guys, get into their base, infiltrate, off you go. If you get discovered, if you get into some close quarters combat, that's okay because you have a lot of gadgets and some other rifles at your disposal. Guys, check out this game. Check out Sniper Elite V2. These games are so heavily discounted. Buy one for a few dollars if you like shooters, and just give it a shot. Haha, give it a shot. Another Game of the Year nomination. Momodora, Reverie Under the Moonlight. Yes, so I'm not a big Metroidvania guy. I do like Metroid, but I haven't played them all. I have played, what else was there this year? Monster Sanctuary. That was a Metroidvania. But this really got it right. This one did not take too long. I think I beat it. Well, I'd have to scroll up to see it. Not a very long game. And the right amount of secrets. Not too much backtracking. I will say there's one little stitch towards the end of the game where you can beat the game, but you don't get the true ending. And finding the item to get the true ending, maybe I could have remembered where to go. I think I just forgot in the moment. You know what? I'm not going to criticize it too much for being too cryptic. It was a really fun game, great physics, great visuals. Warioware, get it together. You know what's so funny? When I made my review for this game in January, I said this is one of my games of the year. And darn it, you know, I'm true to my word like that. So it really is worthy of this title of a Game of the Year nominee. So much fun. If you have somebody else to play through the campaign, I highly recommend you try taking on some of the missions with another person. You cooperate for the most part. If you want to verse each other, of course, you can load up a level on its own and do that. I will say for the multiplayer, not a great game if you just want to pop it in fresh and play with 4 people. You have to unlock more multiplayer, and you will gradually unlock more modes. So that is the one drawback of the game, but a very surprising single-player experience, again, if you like those reflex-oriented mini-games. Days Gone. Oh, this game is good. Is this my first time really talking about it this year? Talked about it a little bit in a game with 15 games with great environments or great atmosphere. Days Gone, I don't recall exactly what slander this game received, but I do know that it wasn't the most well-received game, at least not consensus by the game journalists. There were some of them who didn't like the character. I think they were saying, like, oh, it's too much of this typical, tired, male main character action hero trying to get over his wife type thing. What's wrong with that? I don't know. You need a strong character to be in the wilderness in a post-apocalyptic zombie world. Not post-apocalyptic. It is apocalyptic. I thought the story elements were good. I didn't think the pacing was very well done, so that's where this game gets knocked a little bit. But the action, driving around, a little bit of the harvesting, those are all decent. I think overall, it's just a really good experience in a cool world with a likable main character. Yeah, so sue me. And at some point, I am going to talk a little bit more about this game. Unfortunately, I'm just not leaving myself enough time in this video. But you know what? Someday, I will revise my top 50 games of all time, and I think Days Gone should go in it. I think it's usurped Resident Evil 4. As terrible as that might sound to some of you, I really enjoyed the adventure. All right, A Link Between Worlds. I've praised this game plenty. It's my favorite handheld Zelda. It does so many things right. These handheld Zeldas, they just do not compete with the 3D Zeldas for me, but this is as close as it gets. So if you want to emulate a 3D experience on the go, I mean, I guess you could just play a Switch and it's portable, but aside from that, A Link Between Worlds is worth checking out. The puzzles were great. The overworld exploration was so much better than its predecessors. And the collectathon aspects are, you know, the game is rife with so many things that you can collect. And I should actually mention one more thing about the gameplay. Yes, this is mentioned in my Zelda review, but for those of you considering this game, you have a wide arsenal of equipment available very early on. And that enables you to take on the dungeons in virtually any order. So if you're somebody who likes the kind of not open-endedness, but being able to play the game in your own way, go where you want, whenever you want. I can't believe I'm forgetting the word for that right now, but it is what it is when you haven't slept as much as I have. Check out A Link Between Worlds. All right, Vampire Survivors. Wow. Like I said, a really pleasant surprise. I actually wanted to check this out because I enjoyed a Dota 2 minigame so much this year. I'll talk more about Dota momentarily. Vampire Survivors, like I said, is this action bullet hell roguelike where you just drag your character around the map. There's things to unlock. There's power-ups to pick up. There's little micro things that you could do depending on the power-ups that you have. Different play styles depending on the combinations you have. So many secrets. So many unlockable characters. Great music as well. Just a high recommendation for me. This is easily in my top 5 games of the year. And if you're somebody who, you know what, you can even add some modifiers to your play so that you could pick a shorter level, like a 15-minute time limit level, and then you could add a modifier to double time it. So if you want some small bites, you can play things in about 8 minutes. If you want to take your time with it, you can remove the modifiers and pick a level with a 30-minute time limit, and then really take your time picking up as much experience as you can, killing as many enemies as possible, and testing out new combinations of weapons. All right, Fire Emblem, The Sacred Stones. Yes, I already said this was a huge upgrade over its predecessor on the GBA. I liked the characters. I liked that there wasn't too much divergence, honestly. From what I've experienced in these Fire Emblem games, when the games fork, you often feel like to experience what you missed out on, you should replay the game and you should play those missions. In this one, you only fork off the other main character, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, for 3 to 5 missions. And out of a total 30 or so chapters, you're really not missing out on that much. So I would say for that, it's great because you really experience most of the game in one playthrough. Again, the units and the upgrades and the maps, it's all really good. Look, this is just classic Fire Emblem done really well. You want to talk about it more with me in the comments, we could do that. Unfortunately, I'd have to rack my memory for it. But I rated this game, I think, a 9 out of 10. So I clearly enjoyed it tremendously. And you know what? That probably is because a lot of the quality of life improvements. So I'm looking forward to what's going to be on the 3DS when I eventually get there. Finally, the 10th game nominee, the 10th runner-up, you could say, is Dota 2. I have a lot that I could say about this, but I'm going to try to keep it limited to just this Game of the Year consideration. So, Dota, boy oh boy, is it a volatile game. It is a hate it and love it game, because when it's great, and when you're making great plays, and there's friendly competition, and everyone's kind of clicking, and it's a closely contested game, but you come out on top, 10 out of 10. One of the best games I've ever played. Your teammates are going off, you're setting them up, you're making highlight plays. I made a lot of them in my 400 hours, and I hope I recorded enough of them. However, when the game's bad, when there's people griefing, trying to make the game unplayable for you, when they're getting themselves killed, when they're spiteful, it's one of the worst games imaginable. And you're locked in there with them for 20 to 40 minutes. You know that you've lost the game sometimes, as early as 10 minutes in, just because of how the early game has started and what your teammates are like. You try to come back, you try to keep positive, but then you lose and you go, that was just a waste of time. And for me, there's a lot of that sentiment. The time that I really enjoyed was fantastic. The time that I didn't enjoy truly did feel wasted. The thing is, you got to take the good with the bad when you play this game. So you can't just pick and choose and always have highlight reel moments. I'm not even talking about the gameplay right now. I'll probably talk more about Dota in the new year at some point. I want to do away with it. I want to finish up my Dota videos, make my final tips and analyses, and just uninstall the game once more and focus on beating tons of games and playing more single player games. I love the game. I've just been addicted to it far too long, and again, I got addicted to it this year. All right. You know what? I do talk about it, I think, in my game video, my video game addictions. And I've talked about Dota many times on the channel. When I talk about it in my top 50, I talk about how I had ranked ambitions, and I was becoming one of the top players in the world. I was in the top 1% of players. I did not want to get caught up in that again. I did not play ranked, at least not my 10 games, to get calibrated with a rating. And so thankfully I was able to stave off that another addiction, because if I saw a ranking and it wasn't what it used to be or even close, I bet you I'd keep on grinding until I got back to that point. Anyways, that's a lot of Dota talk. My best game of the year goes to Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Yes, the game that I initially stopped playing that I thought sucked, that was nowhere near as good as Definitive Edition, has now climbed up into my game of the year and one of my favorite games of all time. How did that happen? Well, first of all, I have to thank Nintendo or the developers for patching the frame rate issues that I experienced. So 3 years ago, I couldn't even get past the tutorial with a smile on my face because it was just lagging when there were too many characters on the screen. Playing it again this year, did not have that issue. I mean, sure, you could play this multiplayer, and that really chugs the game a little bit. But if you play it on your own, there's only a few instances in some missions where the game struggles. So, 2 thumbs up for the game being optimized. Boy, oh boy, what do I love about the game? First of all, let me address the Zelda fans out there. If you are looking for more Zelda to tug at your heartstrings, a little bit more lore, in story and just... Part of it is fan fiction, yes, technically, but so much of it should be considered canon. They flesh out a lot of what happens in the events leading up to Breath of the Wild. And yes, Nintendo at some point in the development decided this is not canon. No thank you. We can't associate this with our official lore. When you play the game, and as you unlock the different chapters and you see how the story progresses, you can discern for yourself whether this would be canon or this would not be. It's very apparent. There's some stuff that is so evident that this fits neatly into the story. One thing I will say is it's really cool. I don't want to give spoilers. No, I won't say that. No spoilers. Let me talk about the gameplay and the action. So you have Muso, or beat 'em up style gameplay. One character versus hordes of many. However, what's great in these Hyrule Warriors games is you get to tab between different characters and control the others like a strategy game to other points on the map. I'm playing as Link. I have Zelda in my party. Zelda, you go to this garrison and you wait there, and once I kill this boss with Link, I'm going to switch to Zelda and I'm controlling her within the same mission. Everybody has different weapons, different movesets, different combos to pull off. And as you get better at the game, and as you start realizing you need to pull out a few tricks to take down the Hinoxes or the Lynels, you might start relying on different characters because you realize, okay, well, this character has a much better combo for getting the weak point on the Lynel's face. And so if I use him, I can stun lock the Lynel. It's unfortunate because I don't want to show the footage because it's a spoiler of the character that's available. So no footage of that being shown on screen, but let's just say I had a lot of fun discovering which characters' combos and with what weapons had stun locks on certain enemies. Does that kind of nullify or negate a lot of the fun in the game? If at that point it just becomes a sequence of inputting the same buttons over and over and over again? It depends on how you view it. The characters always look really flashy. There's a certain element of satisfaction from being able to perform a successful stun lock and combo. So I would say no, I enjoyed it. And lastly, the thing that I should talk about, there's so many aspects, but let me talk about the world map and how you progress through the game and its missions and its side quests. You have the map from Breath of the Wild. You unlock different areas of the map depending on the missions that you beat. And there's all these little side quests filled with so much flavor text. You might do a side quest where they're going to upgrade or give you a recipe so that when you go into a mission, you can cook these meals and they'll give you some stat upgrades. So for one of them, you are reading the flavor text, and it's a lady who's lost her cuckoos. And I thought it's cuckoo, right? In Zelda, it's cuckoo, it's not cuckoo. Anyways, you gotta find her cuckoos. And so there's a flavor text describing that. And then when you hand in all the materials and you beat the quest, that updates. And oh, she's so happy that you were able to get them back, and she's rewarding you with this. You're reading that times 50, times 100, and it's just really pleasing. Anything else I really want to talk about? The customization of the outfits. I dyed Link with different colors. I should say his garments. I didn't dye the character himself, but I dyed his various garments with different colors, and I dressed him up in different ways, in different outfits. I'm really losing my voice, so I should probably wrap it up. I want to talk about this game so much more because I really enjoyed it. I will say, if you were turned off the game, or if you heard that it's not necessarily as good as Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, please give this game a shot. The amount of characters you unlock and how cool their combos are. Oh, and also this. The upgrade from Definitive Edition to this. So this is now my preferred Hyrule Warriors because they give you more attacks universally. So on every character, you have access to the Sheikah Slate, Stasis, Bombs, Cryonis, and Magnesis. And also, being able to find Koroks around the map. If you see a treasure chest buried on the ground, half of it's covered, half of it's sticking out, you use your Magnesis on it, and you fling the treasure chest out, and there's a Korok hiding inside. So I love that. There's Korok hunting. Oh, I should say I beat this game 100%. So I beat it around 56 hours, and I kept on playing it for another 20 hours to 100% it. Like I said, I could keep on talking about this game, but I will wrap it up. All right. That is my 50 games beaten this year, and the awards, and the best and the worst, and I will go get my dog from outside, and I will say goodbye with him. All right. Thank you everybody for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video and the 50 games that I presented. Again, if there's anything you want to talk about, I'm in the comments section with you all. Any of the videos that I mentioned, you can find them in the description. And also, let me know what some of your favorite games were this year. The best ones that you played, the best looking, the best sounding. Okay, we're squirming a lot, all right. I'm always into games that have really great music or do interesting with the sound and the visuals. And any hidden gems, of course, always really fun to read about. They don't have to be from 2024. I'll take something from any year prior. So that's it. That wraps up the year. Hopefully everybody had a good one as well. And on to 2025. Have a happy new year and good luck in the new year. Bye-bye.